All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Lisa Twilley. I'm the director of the Women's Business Center at Maryland Capital Enterprises. And thank you for joining us tonight. I know it's a nice evening and we're taking you away from the sunshine, but we have some good information and we're happy you're here. Just to give you some information about MCE, Maryland Capital, what we do, we are a nonprofit based here in Salisbury. We actually serve the entire Eastern Shore of Maryland, Baltimore City, Baltimore County, and Anne Arundel County. And all of our services are free. We do business consulting, marketing consulting, one-on-one mentoring. We do workshops such as this, and we also do small business loans. So if we can be of assistance to you in any way, I put my email in the chat and our website in the chat. Be sure to check out our website. We actually have two websites, the Women's Business Center at marylandcapitalenterprises.org. And then we also have one for Maryland Capital, which is just marylandcapital.org. So I think we'll add that to it too. So be sure to check out our website. That's where you find the classes. And if you'd like to be added to our newsletter list, just let me know in the chat or send me an email and I can add you. That way, you know, when we have events going on, such as I was just telling Claire about our annual Women's Business Conference that we hold every year in March. It's always in Women's History Month. So next year it's going to be March 15th. So you'll have to mark your calendars early and hopefully you guys can join us. That is held here in Salisbury. I'm not sure. I didn't look to see where you guys were located. Oh, okay. I see. Wow. We got Tara. Are you in Texas? Tara's joining us from Texas.
I am in Texas. Yes, I'm in Texas right now, but I'm originally from Maryland. So, yeah, so I actually am back and forth every few weeks. Yeah.
Great. Well, that's good to know. And then I know CC's in Maryland too. So thank you, ladies, for joining us. And I'd like to introduce Dr. Claire Adagbo. I told her I was going to try not to mess it up, but I can't do it like you do, Claire, with that accent. You have to say it for them. So I'll let her tell you a little bit about herself and get started.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much, Lisa. And it's great being here. Thanks for having me. My name is Clara Dogbo, and that's the pronunciation of Dogbo. But that's okay. You did good, Lisa. Yeah, so a little bit about me. I am a career and executive coach as well as business coach. I coach entrepreneurs. I love entrepreneurship. So that's something that is my passion. And so I love coaching people. Also, I am a consultant and have been consulting for many years also. So a lot of what Lisa and the MC does just really resonates because that's the kind of thing I do. And so I would say I love my job. The question for you this evening is, do you love your job? And as entrepreneurs, and I'm going to give you both the opportunity to introduce yourself and what you do, because since it's a small group, we can tailor this and make sure it's relevant for both of you that are joining us this evening. But I've realized as a coach that there are very few people who can genuinely say they love their jobs, be it they leaders or be they entrepreneurs or senior executives or even people dabbling in stuff, because as entrepreneurs, you find that you are skilled at pivoting. You try this, doesn't work, try that, it doesn't work, then you try this and it works, yay, it works. But it doesn't always necessarily mean that that's something that is your first love or passion. Some of us stumble upon success, right? Lisa is nodding. I mean, feel free. I'm gonna say right off the bat that what I'm doing and what I love to do with sessions is a workshop style. I'm a facilitator. I love coaching people through the process. So if you don't have your pen and paper beside you, grab it, preferably a notebook that you refer to, because I'm going to be asking you some questions and getting you to write down your thoughts and just journal through the process, so that at the end of the day, even if you already love your job, how about getting you to a 9 or 10 out of 10? Or giving you a roadmap to 10 out of 10. How about that? Right? So please feel free to jump in and talk back to me, and let's just have a fun discussion and learn from each other. Right? Um, okay. So, before I go to my next slide, can you ladies tell us about yourselves? Tara, you're first on my screen here.
Sure. So good afternoon. Good being with you all. As I shared, I'm originally from Maryland. I grew up in Baltimore, and I have actually, for the last few years, I was counting them up today, but it seems like for about the last 25 to 27 years, I've worked in the human services field. And in the areas I've worked in, I've always worked in what I identify as under-resourced or underserved communities. And
Mm.
with that, I moved from entry-level position to management positions and then into an executive level position. And with that, I've always heard from friends, Tara, you run other people's businesses. Why don't you start your own? And
Wow.
let me be very forthright with you. I would say to them, I like to know what my paycheck will look like every 2 weeks.
Mhm.
So with that, I was more confident in operating others' businesses as opposed to mine. But in the executive level, or just really in general, when you're at a certain level, a lot of times the positions that I've held have really been very at the pleasure. And you hear that a lot in employment. You work at the pleasure or at will, which means at any given time that at will can end, and it doesn't necessarily end well. Well, sometimes it can end well for you, but not for them, and vice versa. So I made the decision to begin to move past operating someone else's business and really focus on my own, because I know that I need to have various revenue streams. And I also have some of the knowledge, but I really have to take the risk. So
Mhm.
that is why I am here today.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that, Tara. So, at what stage of your entrepreneurship journey are you? At the start, or?
At the start, a little past the start, I've done a lot of workshops, conferences. I've done somewhat of a business plan, but in my business plan, I began to think about other opportunities that don't necessarily go into that business plan as much as I would like it to, because I
Mhm.
like to have the synergy.
Mhm.
So I will just be very transparent. I think a lot of it is my self confidence in being sure within myself, meaning I talked about taking risk.
Mhm.
And and to be a business owner and to be a good one, to be an entrepreneur, you have to be able to take risk
Yep.
and recognize that taking risks will not always, they won't necessarily always turn out horribly. They might turn out great, but not every time will you get the same thing each time.
Yep.
So that's where I am right now. I'm a little past start, but I really have to continue to have that self-talk and following through on certain things. Oh, and another thing is I really am very cautious as to who I share my information with, what I'm doing, and
Mm,
who I'm doing it
yeah. Okay.
That's a good thing.
with.
Yeah, you need to be. You really do. So somebody doesn't take your idea, especially when you're in the beginning stages.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. And Lee, C. Lee.
Good evening. I don't know if my mic is working. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Okay. I'm in the middle of cooking dinner, so there's that.
Go
Um,
for it.
so my career, I have a couple of gigs. I have a 9 to 5, as well as I'm a realtor. Um, sorry, had to check my dinner. So that's where I am. Always looking to learn and grow, which is why I'm here. I do pretty well in both industries, so no complaints there. But as the earlier speaker mentioned, I am definitely looking to start, you know, something else because my family is very entrepreneurial. So most of them work for themselves, and so I need to have a third. Uh, I need to have a third stream of revenue as well. And that's it for me.
Wow, that is so good. I mean, it's great to have this entrepreneurial and driven women safe space because if you said that in another context, they'll look at you like you have a 9 to 5 job and you're a realtor and you're looking to add a third, because I get that from people a lot when they're like, how many things do you do, Claire? And when it is just inborn, you can't help it, right? And to you, carrying that third um passion or gig will work. You make it work because you've shown and proven to yourself in the past that you can make it work. So that's amazing. And thanks, ladies, for sharing that. And I try and make this as relevant to you as much as possible. So we spent a little bit of time just talking about what we do and who we are and our aspirations, right? So the title of the session is clarifying your career goals. And like I said earlier in the intro, the idea of an entrepreneur having a career seems like it's not congruent, right? Because you are in it to be your own boss, you want to make money, right? But the whole idea is to enjoy the process while making money. So when you think about it, Tara, for example, you're leaving um the what's the word, the workforce to being self-employed and being your own boss, right? When do you think you're going to retire? I mean, you can answer it if you want to.
Well, well, actually, I don't know. I don't,
Exactly.
to be honest, by the time I look at student loans and things like that, I don't know if I will ever retire. But my desire is to make certain that if I have the opportunity to maybe not have my 9 to 5 be a full-time situation, then that is what I am very, very willing to do. Um,
Exactly.
but at this point, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Which is the point, because as a business owner, and it's the same thing for you, sorry, Lee, what's your first name? It's just your initials there, so I'll keep referring to you as Miss Lee or
Cece,
sorry.
it's Cece.
Oh, Sifi. Okay. Yeah,
Hmm.
thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
CC. Mhm.
Sorry. Cece.
CC. Yeah.
Yeah, CCC. Okay, sorry about that. I heard something else. Yeah, so the idea is that as entrepreneurs, right, there is no exact retirement date for yourself, at least your retirement is not driven by the rules of the workforce. And if you've been reading up on a lot of articles that come out these days, there's a lot of talk around um, giving up on the idea of retirement. In fact, there are people who are retirement coaches these days, and it's a growing field because people retire and they're like, then what? But as an entrepreneur, part of the joy of doing this is that you can stay and work for yourself for as long as you want, or sell it off and start something new and reinvent yourself. However, and that is why we need to think long term here. We need to think outside the box and ensure that we are always staying in what I call a sweet spot for us as entrepreneurs. When you think about your long-term goals, right? So CC, for example, you work a 9 to 5 job, you're a realtor, and you're starting something else. Although entrepreneurs tend to live in the moment, when you think about all of this stuff you're doing long term, where would you want to see yourself in another 20 years? You don't have to answer that, or you may if you like, CC, and are able to.
I see myself living in Costa Rica, retired, living a life of leisure.
Living a life of leisure, not doing any one of your three passions or
Well,
gifts.
possibly working on a nonprofit by that point to give back to the community. As you rise, pull others. So that sort of thing.
So that is such a good thought. And when we go to the next slide, and when you start to journal and brainstorm for your own path, b- please put that, because when we think about your career as an entrepreneur, that trajectory looks quite different from um, a person in the workforce, right? So for your day job, your 9 to 5 job, right? When I say, where do you see yourself in the next 10 years? If you want to be a CEO, you're like, yeah, I want to be a CEO. That's the pinnacle of my career, right? But as an entrepreneur, the sky really is the limit, and that's where you have to take a step back and like, if I'm not retired from doing this, or whilst I'm actively working, this is what I want to do. And when I'm retired, I plan to give back. And this is what I want to be doing, giving back. That is all part of your larger career trajectory as an entrepreneur. When I started initially, I did mention that um, for entrepreneurs, you're used to pivoting a lot. So it means that you don't always do things that you are passionate about. Sometimes you have an idea, like let's talk about hair products, right? Um, you have a hair product and it sells and people are buying it, and you just keep selling, and then you get on Instagram and or whatever social media, and you get a lot of sales. Now it works and you grow an entire business on the back of it. Now the person who actually made that doesn't necessarily mean that they have a passion, a long-term passion for hair products. They may or may not. Now, if hair products is a passion, right, and you have all of the strengths that goes alongside with um, running a business, like I'm sure Lisa will acknowledge that with entrepreneurs, people who are skilled at marketing, extroverted, they have an advantage because I'll always tell people when I have workshops on entrepreneurship is that there are three legs to any business. You need to have marketing, you have to have money, and you need management, right? Now, when you find people whose personalities tend towards being um, um, canvassers, right? They're out there, they know how to get in people's faces without being ashamed. The business comes faster than they have time to manage it, right? Lisa, feel free
Yes,
to jump in,
definitely.
you know, and that's your strengths. Now, let's say that person is passionate about natural hair products, has the strengths, their personality type, you know, and the way they are um shaped naturally, just works for them. And then they have their experience of maybe being working in a salon before. Bang, you have its sweet spot for them. And that person will one not struggle, in this endeavor. They will thrive. Burnout will be farther down the road if it ever comes for them, because they're just right where they need to be. And another way you can look at this sweet spot, as especially for both of you, as Cece, you start thinking about your third gig, and Tara, as you think about your business, is your sweet spot and your niche are not too far apart if you get it right, especially as a start. So I'll give you an example, a personal example. So I told you I'm a consultant, and I coach people in their careers and entrepreneurs, as a coach, we always talk about, oh, what your niche is. In fact, when I went through coaching school, they're like, one of the sessions was finding your niche. And I tell you the truth right here, it doesn't always work at that point in time, because it takes a lot of self-awareness, right? And humility to narrow down that niche. I'm like, you know what? This is my sweet spot. This is where I thrive. This is where I'm my best self. Because, hey, we are mostly in business to make money, right? And so you're like, any client that comes, just give me that client. I'll take the client. But it takes a while for you to get to that point where you're like, these are my strengths. This is what I'm really passionate about, and this is my experience. So I'm going to take a moment here and let you ladies talk back to me. And Lisa, feel free to go to and tell me what your thoughts are about this slide, and if any of that resonates, or how that is resonating right now with you.
I agree. In perspective of your sweet spot, it's important that your passion, experience, and your strengths are um, highlighted, kind of polarized. But I also recognize that it becomes very important your connections and your connections. And I guess the other part that I want to say is exactly being very conscious of your capabilities, because even being an entrepreneur, you still need the support of others. And that's why connectivity is very important. Those things that you do well, sure, you do those well, but that doesn't mean those other things that you need improvement in, or areas of what's not your strength can just be ignored. So that I think that's very important, and another reason why it's taken me so long to really focus on being an entrepreneur.
Totally, and I couldn't agree more. I'll come back to some of the points you just raised, Tara. And Cece, thoughts? If you're able.
Yeah, so I'm a big believer in learn while you earn. So where I have an interest in branching out, I am planning to connect with someone who's already in that field, in that industry, with whom I would not be a direct competitor, to actually learn and grow and make mistakes on someone else's dime and time. I hope that doesn't sound horrible. Just so that I can learn and grow and know some of the pitfalls and get some experience before going out on my own. I agree with the other attendee with regards to networking and having, a really big circle as well.
Oh, absolutely. And so I totally agree. And if you think about it, I could think about your network as fitting into either your strengths or your experience part, right? Bracket here. Because if I am thinking about starting a new business, or again, another thing I do is I consult, right? And then I start getting all sorts of opportunities from my network who know me, and they're like, hey, Claire, so what kind of consulting do you do? And in the first thing I want to say, because I'm a hustler, right? I want to make money. I say anything in management consulting. And then another friend tells me, like, "Mm, are you sure that your thing isn't just not it as an isn't primarily not for profit?" And I was like, what makes you say so? And that's where I'm going with the idea of the sweet spot, because when we are launching out, first of all, there is a tendency to want to do and grasp every opportunity. But when you find this sweet spot or your niche that suits you and fits you like a glove, you will thrive, you will make all the money you want to, you will get the recognition in the industry. This is what sets you apart from people in the same industry, in the same line of business. There are many management consultants, right? Out there. So why should a person hire my organization to do consulting for them versus another organization? What makes us special? What makes us unique? And this is like your identity. This becomes your brand when you're aware of what that sweet spot is for you. Like Tara, in your line of industry, in your business, is it what makes you so your connections will get you through the door, right? But what makes them choose you over another person who's gotten through the door, you know, is you knowing what that sweet spot is for you and what you uniquely bring to the table, So here, I want you to take a moment, if you can, to think about your strengths. I don't know, Lisa, if you got my message yesterday about people looking at their strength finder, if you have done strength finder or the high five strengths personality.
I did
That's
not
something.
get that. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so you think about yourself, think about your strengths. So for a person, your strengths might be the strength of your network. I know a friend of mine whose network is behind her. So any idea she wants to, I mean, we're writing a book together. And part of the reason why writing that and we feel confident about writing that book is because of the strength of her networks, right? So that is a strength for her network. Um, what abilities do you have? What do you do with ease that other people struggle to accomplish, right? What is your personality type and what is your bent? Because no matter how much you want to do some things, and if you're going to be the one initially starting out and running things, you need to play to your strengths. As your enterprise grows and expands, then you bring in people too who are equally playing to their strengths so that everyone is in their sweet spot, right? And then your team becomes really unbeatable because of that. Um, so what are your own strengths? Take a minute to think about it. Just quick brainstorm for yourself. What are your experience in the new business ideas you want to start? CC, Tara, what experience? So for you, CC, you want to learn while you earn, right? You want to go find out what how it works, what experience can you associate? Because as adults, you find out the older you get that no experience is what's the word, that every experience is relevant. At the end of the day, you have some experience that will bring a unique spin on doing the same thing, even though it's in an existing industry that you don't know much about, right? Sissy, you wanted to say something?
Sure, project management, which I think if we all think about our lives, you don't have to think about it in a traditional sense of,
Absolutely.
you manage projects every day, right? Getting ready for the workday,
Exactly.
cooking dinner,
Mhm.
getting to a destination. These are all little projects that you manage throughout your 24 hours on the planet each day. Um,
Absolutely. Or birthday parties and events, right? Family events. Those are all mini projects. Absolutely. So there is something, whatever you have done before is relevant, and you think about what you've done that can set you up for success in what you want to do. And then passion. You know, as a coach, you'll be surprised at how many people I met who don't know what their passion is. And I think that again, and if you're entrepreneurial at all, whether or not you started a venture, it can almost be a challenge because many people that want to start their own business or run their own business, they are multifaceted, right? They are typically people who can do several things, and it's like, okay, which one should I do now? And so in being that multifaceted person, sometimes it's really difficult to spot what your passion is. But I just put some pointers here, to help you discover what that passion is, what drives you, what would you do for free? I mean, if you met a person that you feel really needs your help, would you do it for free? Do you like what you're doing enough to do it for free for anyone because you believe in how important it is? What are you on your soapbox about? You know, what do you want to change so badly? I mean, you'll go on and like, oh, I wish I could do something about this thing. I want to end poverty in the third world. I so want to empower third world entrepreneurs. I mean, that's an example. And that's not necessarily my passion, but just an example, right? What is your pet peeve? you know um Finding your passion. And I tell you, I'm just giving you pointers here. Usually helping people uncover their strengths and their passion usually takes several coaching sessions, because it is based on a high degree of self-awareness that sometimes gets lost in the busyness of the day and of life. But I encourage you ladies to keep revisiting this because I remember when I was getting certified as a coach like 5 years ago now or more, and my coach then was taking me through that process and finding what my passion is. And I wrote something, and I I go back and look at it and I laugh now because clarity sometimes comes with experience and time, right? Um, I don't know if anyone has anything to share, or Lisa, you have some thoughts on all of those.
Oh, I totally agree with everything you're saying. These are very, very good points. And I think clarity definitely comes with experience and over time. It's just like as you get older, more wisdom. And I mean, that's how it seems like for me anyway.
Absolutely.
So I'm not really surprised that folks have problems discovering their passion because right now we are in a instant we want everything instantly, right? So we're in a prime sort of state of mind
Exactly.
in our head. So
Hmm.
willing to do the work. Everything is not going well. Very little happens overnight. So the
Yeah,
dedication to it, the learning, the falling up, not falling down, right? Or failing up, not failing down.
totally.
Um, so that really does not surprise me, as well as how do I monetize my passion, right? So there's that piece as
Mm,
well.
mm, totally, totally, totally. I agree. Tara, do you have thoughts?
And actually, I was listening to Cece say we live in such an instantaneous society, and I was thinking like, yeah, this is the microwave. Um, we live in kind of a microwave society, but the thing that really challenges makes me always challenge certain things is the more we live in it, the more it's polarized.
Mm,
So we have we you know many times people will have the assumption or move from a perspective of things do happen instantaneously. And let me give an example. My example comes from influencers. I and I don't try to knock anyone's position or their desire, but there are certain things that, like when people say, well, I'm an influencer, and I my response is that person could not influence me to do anything except probably not listen to what they are saying. But I also recognize that that's very judgmental, but I have a really difficult time wrapping my head around that concept.
But
But I
guess what?
also
They influenced you. They have influenced you. They have influenced you to not follow them. So that's an influence.
right, yeah. Um, okay, that's a good way of looking at it, and that's how I look at it from now on, CC. But it just really, really makes me sit back and say, wow, do, do people really people really think that things happen overnight? The instantaneousness of it. Even myself, there's certain things that I look at, I said I was going to do, and one of them was retire by the time I was 50. I remember saying that so concretely. I think I was getting ready to turn 30. And I look at it now and I'm like, yeah, that didn't happen, Tara. And it did not happen because of many things, and many of them were all on Terra. First of all, the time changed so quickly. What used to happen, like you could sign on a dotted line. You know, I worked for the state. I came in and I knew this is how much money I would make if I continued to stay there. And I was thinking like, there's no way in the world I'm going to stay here in this position, and just so many things happen. But that I do agree. I do agree that it's important your sweet spot. But I also recognize that in um, in your understanding, you also have to be very, very cautious. And I talked about risk, being taking a risk. I remember when I left my state job, I had people say to me, "You are crazy. You are really insane. You're going to leave your state job." I was like, "Yep." The one thing I didn't do is I didn't take my money. I left my money right where it was because I was like, "Hey, I might need that money," but there are just so many other things that do come into play, and there are they're out in there. I'll stop there.
yes, oh yes, 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 yes. So I couldn't agree more about everything you said. We live in an instantaneous generation, and I think um people who sell, even being an influencer, don't get me started because I could get on my soapbox about that one. Um, but when you people talk about things going viral, there are things people do to make things go viral, and it's called marketing.
Mhm.
Someone said, right, what you call luck is when opportunity meets preparation. So what they don't always tell you is how much preparation goes and support goes in the background to one get viral and to stay there. So oh, I've been there, done that. Not as an influencer, but as someone that is a creative also. I know exactly about that. But it's all smoke and mirrors in many ways than one, not just the photos now, it's the process. It's smokes and mirrors. And so it's giving a whole generation false hope that they can make it big instantly when it's not true, even for those who have, in quotes, made it big. And what does making it big really look like? What does that really, really look like? And the more people get there, we're all entrepreneurs, and so you know that in economics there is the slice of the cake, right? How much of it can a person get, the more saturated that field is. So, anyway, I will stop myself from talking more about influences, but I say that to say anything along this entrepreneurial journey takes patience. Patience, one, with yourself. And that, going back to this is all about knowing thyself, and launching from the point of knowing yourself. That's self awareness, and it grows. I mean, so I talked about that session I had with my coach 5 or 6 years ago, um, about what my passion is. These I've been clear about my strengths, but what my passion is, it took years. I had an inkling, but clarity has come over time, and the more clarity I have in any of these areas, the better able I am to pivot, and make the best choices for me as an entrepreneur in terms of what kind of clients. Something that we talk a lot about is, who's your ideal client. Describe your ideal client. Ask Apple, who's your ideal client. Apple knows who the ideal client is to the T. They know that avatar. So if I asked both of you, who is your ideal client? What does that look like? But um a thing I always work with my clients to do is, first, know thyself, and then it's easy, to begin to highlight and identify who you work well with. It, again, that whole concept of knowing my ideal client took years. I thought I knew at the point when I was being coached and asked, but it took years and experience, and just working with different kinds of clients for me to say, right, this is my sweet spot there. This is where my skill sets and my strengths and my passion meets the right kind of person who will value all three of this, and that is my ideal client. And in some aspects of my business, I have identified that, and in others I'm still figuring that out, to be totally honest. So this whole process is iterative, and you keep growing in it and keep um growing, and that's why that growth mindset is always important. And Tara, you talked about taking a risk. So today you're taking a risk based on what you know, either consciously or subconsciously, about where you are at in terms of whatever you choose to call this, But as you start really diving in and doing your business, offering your services, you'll begin to find out, nah, that's not for me. No, I'd rather do more of this. So I'll chase and focus more on that. And that's what that awareness that comes from your sweet spot should help you do. Right. Sorry. Um, Sorry, my stuff just froze for a moment here. Okay. All right. So um I think it's important. Can you see my screen? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. It's in getting there, I think it's very important to know where you are at today in relation to all of those. I encourage you to go back and do that work, and it may take time. I encourage you to journal, get a book out, and that's why I said it's good to use a book that you use and you look at often, and try and identify where you are at. Remember, the whole essence of this is clarifying your career goals, right? Understand where you are at that journey, that journey of, are you being entrepreneurial and industrious, making money based on your skills, or are you at a place where you can say, um, that you love what you do already? Are you at a 10 out of 10 already? You know, where are you at? And um, so where you are you in your sweet spot? Do you even know what that is? Are you leveraging the things that make you unique? Again, I said, like I said before, that sweet spot, once you find it, it helps you brand yourself, whether you're still doing a 9 to 5 job or not. That is the process I help people that are trying to make career pivots to grow, get to where they know what makes them unique, you know, what they bring to the table. I always ask them, what makes you special? You know your sweet spot, you know, and ask yourself, are you leveraging it? Is your current day job or your side gigs, are they leveraging what makes you unique, what you uniquely bring to the table or not? You know, then the next thing is having a roadmap for where you want to get to. Where do you want to get to?
Claire,
Mhm.
can you enlarge your screen?
Oops, that's not good. um I have to step shift. Just 1 second. I will share. I will make it full again. Just 1 second.
Someone was asking in the chat. Mhm.
Oh, sorry. I thought there was something in the chat. Just give me a second here. I mistakenly unplugged this. Okay. Um,
Claire, may I ask a question?
go for it.
Okay. So one of the things that you noted is to know yourself, and we've talked about, um, with experiences, you get a different perspective. Um, what do you, how do you identify, or what are the best steps to take in order to really codify that you do know yourself? Meaning, what are some of those maybe three? I always like to take things at a three level increment. So when I try to focus on things, I'll try to do it at on three things to focus on. But what are those three things when you really know yourself, kind of,
Okay.
or especially for entrepreneurship?
I think when you know yourself, I will measure that knowledge based on the kind of things you say yes to versus what you say no to. You know, when you really, really know yourself and you know your sweet spot, you'll get to the point where you can say, nah, that's a great opportunity, but I know that that's not the best for me. You know, you're better able to say no. And again, I'll keep giving you the example as a coach. You know, i'm I'm so much more clearer after how many years of doing this about the kind of people who I want to coach, because I know them. I know those that are coachable. And then somebody comes to me and they want to be coached, and I can see all the telltale signs that this is not my ideal client, you know, because at that point I'm hustling, you know, I go ahead and say yes, you know, but at the end of the day, my gut was right, you know. So at that point, I should have just listened, because I know that our personalities are not going to mesh very well. So, you know, in the previous slide, I talked about your personality type. I don't have a lot of time to talk through all of these things in details, but like I said, these are things that I take spend lots of sessions one-on-one taking people through, because you need to know your personality type, you know, what things, people that you work well with, people that you won't work well with also. You know yourself, and being able to use that knowledge again is another strength, because you may have all of that information, you may be armed with it. But if it's not informing your decision making, then it's almost like you're back to where you were before you even had that information. So you said three things. So one is what kind of opportunities you say no to, because it's huge as an entrepreneur to say no. That shows me that you really know yourself. Second thing is the kind of things you say yes to, because the more clarity you have about who you are, and you know your sweet spot, you'll be saying yes to the things that play to your strength. Because the more yes you say to things that play to your sweet spot, the more known you will be. Because remember, the whole idea of your sweet spot is what makes you unique at what you do as a person. That is the uniqueness you bring to the table. Now, if you're saying yes to things that leverage that, you're going to grow your brand, either as a business or as an entrepreneur or as a career person. You will get known the more you play to your strengths. That's just it, you know? And then the third indicator for me, I would say, is how do you feel after one, you said no to something, or two, you said yes to something. Because
Okay.
um, you know, you may say no, and that has happened to me before. I remember giving being given an opportunity to take on a side gig, as a consultant that played to my strengths and my experience, not my passion at that point in time. And I was totally honest about it. I knew where I was. I wanted to make more money, but
Mm.
it didn't play to my passion, right? And then I say asking questions about it, and the level that I was going to be put at, right, was something that I just knew that, I will be doing myself a disservice. I will not thrive, even though I knew the work, but because I'll be too buried in that team, I knew that it will be playing to my sweet spot. And even though I'm experienced, really experienced, because I'm not passionate or it's not playing to this, it will end up making me look bad, possibly.
Mm. Okay.
And so because of that, I said no. Now, after saying no, did I regret it? Oh yes, because I regretted the money I could be making at that point in time. I did, but you know what? I did not regret it for too long, because I was very brutally honest with myself. I'm like, you know what? Don't feel bad. You wouldn't have thrived in that role, and that will give you a bad reputation. As
Mm.
an entrepreneur, your reputation matters a lot, because when you get a bad rap,
Exactly. I was
yeah,
gonna
go ahead.
say exactly money. I mean, yes, as entrepreneurs, we need to make money, but money isn't everything. You have to definitely keep your reputation, keep it good and clean. You are your brand, we always
Exactly.
say. So you have
Mhm.
to make sure that you are staying true to that,
Okay.
staying true
Totally.
to who you are and your brand,
Exactly.
and not just worried about the dollar signs.
Totally. No, absolutely. And I tell you, the more you keep playing to this, the more of those dollars you will get. And again, just to wrap up here, you talked about, so I said three things: what you say no to, what you say yes to, and how you feel about your yes or no, right? Now, in the same way, when you've said yes to something, do you, in the middle of it, do you feel like, oh my gosh, I should have said no, this is horrible, this is not me at all, I was just doing this, I was too hasty, I made a wrong turn here, took a wrong step because of the money? um Either way, when you say yes to an opportunity or no to an opportunity because of your awareness of what your sweet spot is, that decision should be validated months later, years later. Looking back, you should still be able to say or feel good about the decision you made, because you know that you played to this, you were being true to yourself.
Exactly. You didn't get the money then, but you're going to get the money later because you built that brand and that reputation because you stayed true to yourself. Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm going to pause here for any of the questions. I had talked about road mapping it because, you know, getting to that sweet spot takes a process, right? And based on your understanding of your sweet spot, like I said, it's no good unless it informs your decision making going forward. For CC who wants to start that project management, or whatever it is, I mean, how is it informing your choices? Because not every project is made the same. I can tell you because I do project management too. So you should be able to identify what you should start, what you should stop, what you should continue, that will take you closer to the realization of your dreams. I know that we've gone through this very quickly, but as you can tell, I'm really passionate about this kind of stuff. Any questions?
You find in some cases people give up right before the magic is going to happen for them?
Yes. Oh, yes. I am one of those who tends to, because you have an idea, and you're like, this would work. I'm running with it, and then it takes a process of time. Um, I think entrepreneurship and to succeed as an entrepreneur takes time, takes lots of patience, not just the ability to take a risk. It's take a risk and sit with the risk, because some people take risks and they want to hedge their bets, or they cut their losses quickly and get out. When you listen to someone like Warren Buffett, when he talks about his investment experience, when the other advisors are telling you to cut your losses and get out of the market, he's like, sit with it, sit with
Mhm. I also find I come across a number of serial entrepreneurs, right? Like it's just, this is what they do. They have, their hands in 25 different things. And it's like, I don't know how you're able to be successful at 25 things at once. Like, that is not realistic. You really need to pull back and pull up and focus on, you know, two, three, maybe, depending on what industries you're interested in. But have you noticed a whole serial entrepreneurial thing going on? It's mind-boggling for me.
Well, I in my circle, I don't have a lot of those people. I to be honest with you, I can be like that myself. I have a lot of rods in the fire, but I can tell you how I make it work. First of all of them don't have the same degree of success, for sure. And
Hmm.
any person that's doing that will be honest. If you were to draw a graph, right, there'll be at different levels, but that person is probably being smart. What they have is a portfolio, and it means that they always have multiple streams of income. But what I do is,
Well, I never said they were making money. I just said they were entrepreneurs.
but any person that's a serial entrepreneur is doing it because they're getting something out of it. And for me, I do it because it's either plays to my passion, as in fact, most of the things I do play to my passion, and it's very important for me living true to my passion and my calling. So that's why I do the things. So every one of those people probably has their why, but just quickly on how I'm manage to keep all those balls in the air is, they're all in the air, right? But not at the same time. Does that make sense? I
Yes.
I
Yeah.
listened to a TED talk about juggling, life work-life balance. And they said if you look at a juggler, right? Um, how did they put it? Right. Not all of those balls are in the air at the same time. And that's the secret. It's knowing thyself well enough to know what's the things I can scale back in this season and what can't I scale back. You know, I know that I scale some things back in some seasons, and in other seasons, I realize I have a little bit more space, and all the stars in quotes seem to be aligned, and I can pick this up again. So I'm very patient with myself. And I have a long term view to all these things. So if you're thinking in terms of cycles of 3 years, CC, you realize that there are a lot of things you can carry and finish in 3 years versus in 1 month, right? So, for example, I talked about writing a book with my friend, and that book, it's probably going to take 2 years to turn around. And for me, I'm happy with that. Now, if I wanted to finish it in 6 months, like most people would, I would be frustrated with myself right now. Do you understand? That's just an example.
So, what is the one takeaway from tonight's session? What's the one thing, if we don't remember anything else that you've said, not saying that's the case, but what should be the one thing that should stick with us to take us to the next level?
Know thyself.
And know your sweet spot. Woo.
Exactly.
Where you want to be and your niche.
Yes.
Okay, so that's like 4 things.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's
Well,
still.
I love them all. I can't help it. I think it was very good tips, very good advice. I think that it's hard to pick one.
Got it. Got it. Thank you, ladies, very much. This was quite informative.
Thank you. And I love
Yes.
the chatting. I think that's what I enjoy about these sessions, the back and forth. So it was fun that we were a small, nice communicative group.
Yes.
Well, thank you, ladies, for joining us. Thank you so much, Claire. We appreciate you and your advice. And hopefully we'll be in communication and we can do something again.
Sure.
If you guys want to reach out to Claire, do you have your information in the chat, Claire? Okay, there you go. If you want to reach out to her directly and continue any coaching with her, please do. I think this has been great.
Thank you, Lisa. Well,
Yeah,
I had fun.
thank
I
you.
learned from you ladies too.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Pleasure. All the best to you too, CC. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Claire. You all have a good
Thank you.
evening.
All right,
Best
then.
wishes
Thank you.
with your
Thanks to all of
business.
you.
Thank you.
Good night, ladies. Be safe.
Good night.
Good night.
So Claire, that was awesome.
Thank
I
you.
loved it. That was an awesome job. And it was different than what I've had before. So I'm super excited about that.
All right. Well, I appreciate
Yes,
your
I'm
feedback.
sorry more people weren't on, but it made it more, we were able to talk more. If there were more people on, we would probably need more time, definitely, right?
Oh yeah, I usually do it for like 90 minutes and stuff like that whenever I've had sessions like this, but I think it was okay. You know, we just made it work and just shared, and I think that was good.
I do too. Thank you again, and I'll
Thank
definitely
you.
be in touch.
All right then. Thank you so much, Lisa.
All right, take
All right.
care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.